He has a pretty much industrial, professional grade, the best of the best stuff you can purchase that's on the market. It's crazy. So we're gonna go inside here and check it out, and your mind is gonna be blown. Let's go take a look at this shop right here. I'll let you just show me around, and you can hit the highlights.
He likes to video everything. The first thing you have to do is turn this on here. That's the compressor and the phase converter. Since it's three-phase equipment, yes, sir, it won't work without the phase converter on. And then this lets you know that it's on. Okay? So you do this and that opens the compressor. If you want to move this over here, or you want to use this over here, you need the air compressor on. This saw is like any other saw in that it has a rip fence, and it has a crosscut fence, and it has a blade that rotates, and there are some differences though. Being a panel saw, it slides, so you can get 8 foot of travel on each side, the in-feed side and the out-feed side. And then it can move over here, so I'm always standing here and moving this. I'm never moving this way. You could do that, but there's no need to ever do that. And so this moves way over here. And this blade, there's 2 blades. This is the main blade, and this is the scoring blade. And the scoring blade rotates in the other direction, so it makes a little snip over the bottom of plywood, so there's no tear out on the bottom, which is very common otherwise when you're using a table saw to cut plywood panels. So here it would be 0.5 inches, and I go like this. Right now it says 0.75, but here's 0.5, and I hit this button, and I go like this, and it'll lower the blade. Let's say I want to go back to 0.75 here. Then I will go over to the machine over here, and hit this button that changes the height, and I'll enter 0.75, and then I'll hit enter, and to erase it. And this is the block, and it's right there. You see, this changes what's active. This means the blade is active. This hand means you can manually do it rather than entering a value. So over here, I'm going like this, and look what's happening. The blade is raising, and the meter's showing me how high it's going. So when I go over here, as I'm pushing the button, it tells me what it is. This changes up and down here, which has dust collection that goes over to the dust collection system. There's dual dust collection. It's under the blade and over the blade. This changes the angle of the blade up to 45 degrees. Usually I leave that at 0 for the most cuts. And then over here, this is the distance of the rip fence to this blade from here. So let's say I wanted to make a cut at exactly 10 inches. I would go here, I would hit this, and if I hit 10 inches and hit enter, and then I activate it, it's going to move that to where it's exactly 10 inches. So then if I want to cut this board to 10 inches off of this direction, I can do that by moving it up against here. And then, I'm not using this clamp, but I use this for both of them. I clamp this down here. If I worry that it's going to rub against here, I can move this out of the way by just using the hand thing and having it out of the way. So it served its purpose, and its purpose was not to guide the wood, but to give me the measurement here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can cut the piece over here, knowing that this will be a certain width.
Right.
Alternatively, I can go from this direction here. So if I want to make this board 30 inches long, I go here and I set it to 30, and I lock that in, and this here indexes to 30 here, and then when I hit this over here, it's locked in place. Then I turn on the machine and just slide it through, undo this. This is kind of rough on the edge here. You can feel that. You can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
But if I wanted to use this machine here, I'd have to turn it on here for the transformer.
Yeah, that's crazy. You can even see it in the video. It's different.
So this is around 4 inches. Let's say I don't want it to be 4 inches. Let's say I want it 3 7/8 inches. 3.875. .875. I can lower this here. Here's the cutter head. And I could have done some of this with a joiner here.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I want to resaw it, I can use this.
And this is a feeder right here.
This is a feeder. This is my in-feed table for my router table, and this is my out-feed table for my shaper. If I want to taper this end here, with this being metal here, I can go and use the magnetic connection to it. Make sure I'm there on both ends, so I can push it in just a little bit here. Now I can round over the end. Capabilities to do a lot of different things. If I want to move this out of the way, I can just go like this, and this moves out of my way here. And with this out of my way, I have some room for this here. And here's my molder. And with this control here, there's even presets. So when I have a certain tooling in here, I can hit a preset button and it'll automatically adjust how far back the fence is,
Really?
how high this goes,
That's crazy.
and the speed.
So if you ever needed to make more of that molding, it's...
There's no test cuts needed. Or you could use the hand tool just like the saw and raise and lower the here. Same for the fence. When you're at the fence, then you can use the hand tool or as a preset and move this back over here. And there's also inserts over here to have clearance. So you want to have as many of these as possible without touching the blade, and then make sure it's clear. If it's clear, you're good. And then you have a feeder here that'll move things over here. So you don't have to have your hands in the way. You just feed it and you can do production. This is my favorite tool, which has a pneumatic hold down or vacuum. Where over here you can have this here with the panel here, and it won't come off. But with the foot control, you can release it, and it comes right on. Clamp, and then you have exposure of the whole surface too.
Right.
You don't have the vise in the way.
This thing has quite a few accessories too.
And I have it over here. And that'll be very secure here.
Oh yeah.
And if I want even more secure, I can put another one over here. And that gives me here. But if I'm working here and I don't want it to turn this way, I can always use... Now it's not going to go anywhere.
And that overhead arm, that's dust collection right there.
It allows me to change things. With the overhead, if I have want to use a random orbit sander, then I can just have to connect over here. Connect over here. And I turn that on, that comes on, and that comes off. If I want to change to, say, a lamello biscuit joiner, I can just take this off. But the lamello doesn't have this kind of connector, it has this. So I wired with a connector here, a different cord. So with this cord, cut it short. Put this on, put this over here, and with this in here, then I have the same connection to the dust collector.
Nice.
So that means that over here with this swivel arm, I can have easy connect and disconnect with dust collection with a power activated dust collector with a lot of different tools. It can be a sander, it can be a biscuit joiner, it can be a domino.
Anything that plugs in is going to turn that vacuum on.
Anything that plugs in is going to turn the vacuum on. And then some things are set up for common tacks, like this is a 3/16 round over. And then I was able to use this connector over here for this here, so it's all, and this is a short cord there. So I made this router for 3/16 because I do those round overs often.
Mm-hmm. So that bit never leaves that router?
It never leaves the router and it never changes in the adjustment. So if you do something very often, you could have a very common setup. With this jig, I'm able to have one of them set up so that it's locked in here. And then for another piece of wood that's 3/4 inch thick, this gives me that profile. And when it's the right width, it'll give me this and this and this. This is too wide, but for demonstration purposes, let me say if I put that in here and I move this over here, that would butt up against here. And then if I wanted to clamp it down, I'd use the toggle clamps and they're locked in. So with this locked in, I know that once I have the right width and the right setup, it'll be reproducible.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to change it out. And then I can take that over to the router table. Then I can use that with the built-in dust collection to do with the router, with the dovetail bits to make the dovetails. So that works with the dovetails. This isn't set up with a dovetail bit, but that would give me the dovetails. But Killer came up with this jig, but I came up with the idea of adding this onto it to make it easy, because it's so easy to just go like this. And this is set up for 3/4 inch. And then the same for the other part of the jig, where you can adjust these here. These will move over here. When you have something against here, it's square to this. And these pneumatically come down to provide pressure to the glue joint. This moves down over here. And also this moves here, where when this locks down here, this can move up or down here like this. And this pushes up against this way.
Mm-hmm.
And it keeps it square. And if I wanted to use a tabletop and I didn't want it to bow and wanted it flat across, then I could, in addition, use this piece that would
Oh, that kind of compresses it.
come across here, and by this being rotated, it compresses up against here along the length to keep it flat. These accessories allow you to use cabinets because it extends out as an accessory for carcasses and drawers.